This video is a look at the Filofax Chameleon series. This series came in, I believe, 6 different colors and 5 different sizes. Obviously, I only own 2 of the colors at this time and 3 of the sizes. From left to right, we have the A5. There's the personal size. There is a compact size, which is narrower and has slightly smaller rings than the personal. This is the pocket, and there is also a mini. I'm going to go through these binders in the order that I purchased them, just because, why not? This here's the pocket. It was my very first purchase, and I think it was kind of on a whim, or did I get it with another binder? I'm not sure, but I didn't start out looking for a Filofax Chameleon pocket. I'm not even sure what ended up making me decide to buy this particular one, but it's actually in my top 5 binders. It's a very textured leather, and in the red and in the pink, the brown maybe, and the black, the texture is really kind of single toned. But I think in the aqua and possibly the spring green, because I haven't seen that one in real life, there's a bit of a two-tone going on. So inside there are card slots, 5 vertical card slot pockets, an elasticized pen loop, elasticated depending on who you're talking to. Very flexible, unstructured leather. It's a very thin leather. It's lined in fabric. It makes the organizer itself very lightweight. And it has a zipper pocket here. Oops, that's not going very well here. A zipper pocket that's also fabric lined, that's very flexible. The clasp on all the chameleons is this outer stitch with this sort of slightly narrowing in here, and it's a very stiff clasp, but it's very well secured. And then this great wallet pocket. I believe these are 15mm rings, so they're a bit on the small side compared to some of the more popular pockets like Malden. But I think 15mm was kind of Filofax's standard for pocket size organizers for a long time. I use this one for travel. And by travel, I define travel a little more broadly than going on a trip. I tend to use it when we are planning a day out in a touristy type way. When we're going to a museum, we're going to a carnival, we're going to something that is out of our ordinary, and I want to have a slimmed down option with me, but I still want to carry some paper. I want my basics for cards. These 5 card slots are perfect for basically, my driver's license, my debit card, my credit card, anything else, my AAA card, anything that might be useful to have on a day out. I've also used it for longer vacations. And since I don't use pocket day to day, I don't buy inserts for this size. I usually just take whatever paper I've got handy and punch it down, or punch it myself and cut it down, generally to match moleskin pocket size, which is slightly larger than Filofax's pages. So that's my use for this one. And because I liked this one so much unexpectedly, I decided to buy other chameleons. Now, at some point in time, I owned an aqua chameleon in personal size, and I did not like it. I felt the aqua and the two-tone black weren't really very attractive. The organizer was really very stiff. It didn't want to lay flat, and so it wasn't one that I enjoyed, so I ended up selling it. I picked up this pink one, again, one of those sort of impulse purchases. I think this was one of those. It was really cheap on eBay, and I grabbed it. This one's showing the wear that's not unusual for the chameleons, where around the popper some of this texturization is rubbing away and revealing some of the undyed area. That can be covered up to some degree with a leather dye, but you'll never quite get rid of the wear marks if the leather's worn away. This organizer has 23mm rings. Like the pocket, those rings are riveted. It also has the same card slots. 1, 2, 3, there's actually 6 horizontal, and then this pocket goes all the way down. There's a slip pocket here, and just like the pocket, it has a zip pocket over here, which can be a little tricky to get at. But this organizer, the inner layer is not stiffened. This is the same thin-ish leather that the pocket is made out of. There's the same flexibility and pliability. Same thing with this pocket here. But the organizer itself is stiffened. I don't love it as much because of that, but this one, there's, I think, a little bit of padding, or maybe it's just air, I'm not sure, but there's some squishiness between the stiffener and the leather itself that still makes it very pleasant to hold. It's a texture thing. I'm okay with it. My only minor complaint is that the pen loop on this one, I don't know if this one was just stretched out, but the pen loop on this one's a little bit less generous than the pen loop on my pocket. There's a little less leather and a little less elastic, but it could just be that this one has been stretched quite a bit. And since I haven't used this organizer and it doesn't really look like it got a lot of use from its previous owner, it just might need more stretching. So that's the personal size. Next, I've got the A5. So it's a little harder to get in frame because of its size. This model, just like its, two little sisters, is the same textured leather. It's got a little more wear on the strap here. But interestingly, the wear is more even. You can still see pink tone, whereas this one's actually starting to show the natural leather color underneath. It also has a pen loop, 2 as a matter of fact. There's one over here and one hiding under the clasp. This one's quite stretched out, if you will. It's bigger, it's more generous, just like the little red one. This one's quite a bit small, just like the one in this. So my guess is it just needs to be stretched, but I don't know. I feel like there's just a little less leather on this one. Like you can stretch elastic, but I don't know that you can quite stretch the leather this much. I'm not sure. More horizontal card slots, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in this one. And then the same full length pocket, full drop pocket that goes down there. This nice flexible pocket here. This one, the zipper is on this side. It's not too bad to get in and out of because it's, fabric lined and the leather's not super stiff. And then another fabric lined pocket here. Where this one differs from all of them is there's, instead of that zipper pocket on the right, we've got an actual full drop pocket that can be used for a notepad. I've seen some people put an iPad mini in here, so there's a number of uses for this pocket. Stickers, long, tall sticker sheets, number of uses for that. Same style riveted rings, although they are much sturdier than some of the other riveted rings I've come across. And I believe these might be 25 millimeter rings. I think they're a smidge bigger. Yeah, they're a smidge bigger than these, but they're not 30 millimeter. So it's a very delightful organizer, and it lays flat, unlike its little pink companion here, which has a harder time doing that. This one, the spine is either just more broken in or a little less stiffened than that model, and so it's much easier for it to pretty much lay flat. Like the pink one, it's stiffened, and it's stiffened even more. There's definitely a thicker board in here stiffening this organizer, which for an A5, if you want a stiff organizer, that's desirable, because if you're hoping to hold it in one hand and still write, you need to have some stiffen. And I personally am not a fan of the super floppy Malden style planner, especially in the A5 size. But this one is too stiff for me. There's not that, I don't know if you can see that. This one has more bend to it, and there's padding in here, there's no padding in here, and there's no bend to it. So I just wanted to highlight, there's a little bit more wear on the clasp on this model. I just wanted to highlight how in one series, Filofax can be, quite honestly, inconsistent in how an organizer is structured. My impression is that the mini is very similar to the pocket, just smaller and with the 5 rings. And I did have a brown compact at one point in time for a very short period of time. It was very stiff. It reminded me much more of this one here and less like this one. So I feel like there's a bit of an inconsistency both in the style within these organizers and how Filofax actually structured them. And I think there's also some differences in the leather. The brown ones that I've had, I had a brown A5 also, was very stiff. And the leather itself was stiff in addition to the stiffener. Like this leather is actually fairly soft. You can see it's kind of squishing down as I push on it, and this one's even more squishy. I feel like the brown and the aqua overall are a very stiff leather. The videos I've seen of the spring green seem to imply, at least of the smaller ones, that it's very flexible and soft. And then the black one, I've never owned a black one. So I haven't owned the black or the spring green. But I thought I would share these little differences, little peculiarities to each of these individual pieces in the Chameleon range. Hope that helps someone while you're out shopping looking for discontinued organizers. Thanks and happy planning.